Hi there and welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through your 2019 Springdale 295Bh. We are just going to start off the back of the unit. If you notice, you do have your spare tire located in the back here. You also have a spray nozzle port located right here. Hose for that just inside the front compartment, and I'll show you that in a second. In this back left corner, squeeze this and pull it out. It's going to give you access to that sewer hose once fully extended. It is about 20 feet long. Just taking note of those 2 ears there. Those are going to be the same 2 ears that hook up to your sewer outlet, which I'll show you in just a minute. We just keep this stored away in the back bumper here to keep as much smell out of the unit as possible. A little bit more further ahead, you're going to have your main sewer outlets. You're going to have 2 different outlets here. You are going to have your 2 black tanks, and then you're going to have your gray tank. You're always going to want to empty your black tanks first. This is going to be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. And then you can come behind that with your gray tanks, which is typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. You got these twist lock caps on. Those work the same way as the sewer hose. The ears just lock onto those notches there, like you see. If you notice right up top here, you do got your 50 amp twist lock connection. See this silver strip here? It does just connect to that silver strip there. You're just going to push that into place. Eighth turn to lock it down, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, typically you would have a standard 50 amp plug-in, but because we're using a 30 amp adapter today, you get a 30 amp adapter. You can use 30 amp with this trailer. Just keep it in mind when you're going down to 30 amps power, you can only run 1 air conditioner at a time. I do believe this does only have 1 air conditioner, but if you were to go to 2, you'd need 50 amp service for that. So you can just run it on 30 amp service and have full power to everything. And we also include a 15 amp adapter to go down from that, but that is just to run your lights and your fridge in case you're at home and you wanted to run that shower or your lights or your fridge. On the wall there, you're gonna have your exterior shower. It just opens up with your standard 751 key, which should be included with the unit. We're just gonna stick that key in there and give it a, should open up. I'll have to double check why that's not opening up, but we'll have that working for when you come pick it up. And then you do have your black tank flush. The way that works is with your tank open and connected to the sewer hose. You can thread a garden hose in there and turn it on, and that's just going to flush that tank out, keeping things that little bit cleaner. Right up front here, you do have your fresh water connection as well as that city water connection. If you're at a site with service, you just thread a garden hose into the city water connection, turn on the water. It pressurizes all the lines without the need to run your water pump. And if you're using fresh water, you just thread put a garden hose in there, turn on the water. It's going to fill that fresh tank, and that's what your water pump draws off of. Right down below, you're going to notice this cap. This is the drain for the fresh tank. So if you loosen this cap off, you're going to notice it's just going to drain all that water out of the fresh tank. And then located in this front compartment, you're going to have that spray nozzle hose, which I told you about earlier. It is just as simple as we'll take it and go out back, just so I can show you how it works quick. Just flip that cap open, pull that collar back just like an air hose, and push into place, and that locks in, and then you have cold water at your hose. And then inside this black bag is going to be your power cord. And then you have a couple different tools here. This one's going to be for your front tongue jack, manual override in case it would ever fail for whatever reason. And then you do get 2 for your jacks, as well as a slide out override, which I will show you in a minute. Around the front of the unit, you got your battery disconnect, which is on that front A-frame with it turned onto power on. That's with the batteries connected to the unit. If you were to turn it to power off, the batteries become disconnected from the unit, or you can do remove/cover, which just completely disconnects it all together. we're just gonna leave that on power on just because we are plugged in, charging those batteries. Located underneath this cover here, if you lift this up, you got your standard 20-pound propane tanks. For the purpose of the video, I will just take the cover right off. In case you were to want to change it, you just gotta loosen this off, and that would allow you to pull those two tanks out. Works just like barbecue. Opening it up all the way opens up the flow of propane to the unit. This tank were to go dry, you can close this one, turn this over to this guy, and start running off this tank. Your front tongue jack, one way is down, the other way is up. You got that manual override just on the top, like I showed you earlier. Told you about earlier, where you can put that tool in. And it does have a little light on the front. On this side, if you're just opening this guy up here, you're gonna find that starter pack. That's gonna include that 15 amp park adapter I told you about, as well as a 15-foot water hose and some other goodies. Both the front and the rear jacks work the same way. If you were to hit extend, those jacks are gonna start making their way down. Once the feet contact the ground, just once the motors wind up a little bit, just let off the switch. That way you don't bring the motors out, put a strain on them. Sometimes the feet will go down and up at different speeds, so that's totally normal. And there you go. You're gonna hear that motor wind up, and that's when you're gonna know those are extended, and then bring them on up. You're just hitting our track, and the same thing, once those feet are up, and you hear the motor wind up a little bit, you can just let off that button. And there is a manual override exactly where this motor is on the other side that you can use those handles for in case these were to fail for whatever reason. So there you go, you heard it wind up and I just let off. Walking down the unit, you have a little mount here in case you were to want to get a little TV to plug in. You got 2 110 plugs as well as a cable satellite outlet. You're gonna have this little vent lid here. Always making sure you loosen those off so you can open that up so your range hood can evacuate those fumes. And whenever you're traveling, just sliding those little fingers over the flap. That way it closes it off and doesn't allow any excess dust inside the unit whenever you're traveling. Right down from there, if you open this guy up, you do just get your hot water service little port area. Whenever you first get to your campsite, just give this relief valve a pull. There should be a shot of water that comes out of there letting you know that the tank's full. We currently have the tank drained, ready for customer pickup. So just pulling that, you should see a shot of water coming out of there letting you know it's full and safe to fire up. I'm gonna go over a reset procedure when I get inside. The button I'm referring to is just right here. You got an 1.1/8" drain bolt right down at the bottom. You got your furnace exhaust. Whenever that's running, it's going to be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. And then in this compartment here, you do have just a little exterior kitchen area. Sliding this guy out, it's just a little camping stove. You got a propane line at the back here. You just got to connect. You just got to run that down. You just got to run that down to this propane quick connect line. It works just like an air hose. You're going to pull that dust cap off, pull this collar back just like the water line I showed you, plug that line in, close that off, open up the flow of propane, and you'd have propane running up there. The switch for your jacks, rear jacks, is also right here. And then always just making sure you put that dust cap on before you travel. That way you don't get any debris inside there. And then you do have your 110 mini fridge right here. This is only going to work whenever you're on shore power, so just be mindful of that. It does have a little freezer in there as well, and that's about it for this compartment. To get inside the unit, you're just taking this assist handle, pushing it up, folding it 90 degrees, it'll lock into place. And you open up your door, making sure you do open up that door all the way so you can get your stairs down. Just taking note of these little pins here. It's going to allow you to change your feet to your campsite needs so you can have nice and level stairs. First steps inside, first thing you notice out on the left is just going to be that fire extinguisher. It's going to pull the pin and shoot, just like home. And then you do have your monitor panel system. You got your slide out switch. Hitting that switch down allows that slide up to start making its way out. Once fully extended, you're going to hear the whines and the clicks of the motor. And that's when you know you're out. Always making sure you're mindful of what's on either side of the slide before you operate it. That way you don't run the risk of damaging anything. And there you go, you heard the clicking, so you know it's extended. Then you got your awning switch, so hitting that down will allow that awning to start making its way out. Once fully extended, you're going to see the back of the metal tube and the little flap hang down. Once you get to about 5 km/h winds, you are just going to want to make sure you bring that in. That way you don't run the risk of bending your arms or ripping your fabric. And there you go, you got that back of the metal tube and a little flap coming down. Now if we were to start raining, you can take any arm, front or rear, and just pull down, and it's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to then run off. Now if you like that angle better, because it allows for more shade underneath the awning, you can do the same thing with the rear arm. Just always making sure you do push them back to straight before you bring them in. That way you don't run the risk of bending your arms. To bring it in, you are just hitting that retract button. The awning will slowly start making its way in, and once those arms contact the side of the trailer, the motors will just cut out. There you go, you're fully in. Now, also located on here, you got some different lights. You have an awning light, which turns on a little strip light outside. You got a slide light, which illuminates the back of the slide there. And then, of course, you have your entryway light. And then you have your water pump switch, turn that on, draws from your fresh tank. And then you can have your gas electric heater or electric water heater. If you do fire it up on gas, you're just hitting that button. The water heater is going to try lighting itself 3 times. If on the 3rd try it doesn't light, this fault light's going to stay on. At that point, you do just have to turn this button off, go hit the reset button, and then try relighting it again. And then you have your monitor panel up top, which shows you all your tanks and levels. You do have a nice little storage closet on this side. And then you come to your main kitchen area, where you got your sink with hot and cold water. Storage all around, just being careful of water lines and other electrical lines and stuff. This is going to contain all your manuals and stuff for the unit. All the lights inside this unit are on their own center push buttons, other than that one entryway light. You got your propane stove, so whenever you are running this, I recommend running that fan. That way you're evacuating some of those fumes out of the unit. And to get it to light, it is just as simple as turning it over to high, giving it a few seconds, and then hitting that igniter, and it fires right on up. I did have the propane system running earlier, so that's why it fired so fast. If the propane system was off for a while, it allows air to get inside the system, so it can take a few minutes to clear out of all the lines, so just be patient with that. And the same thing for the stove, the oven. You're just pushing and holding it on the pilot option. You're gonna hit that igniter. Once you get that pilot going, you're just gonna push and hold for another few seconds. And then once it holds its own, you can turn it up to your desired temperature, and it fires right on up. You also have this little button here, which turns on some lights around the knobs and inside the oven. Whenever you're operating this, just be mindful that it is glass. You got your Everchill fridge. Temperatures for the freezer up top, and then down below, you're gonna see you gotta push and hold that for about the set button for about 10 seconds to turn it on. And then it will allow you to go between 1 being the warmest temperature and 5 being the coldest. This is a 12-volt fridge. You do have storage all around. Right down here, you got your main breaker and fuse panel. Whenever you have a breaker trip, it's going to sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. And whenever you have a fuse blow, there'll be a little red indicator light letting you know which one's blown. One thing I forgot to mention, right underneath the oven here, you're going to notice this little trap door with 2 screws on either side. If you pull those out, that's going to give you access to your hot water heater for winterization for those bypass valves. You got your 2 bunk beds in the back corner there, lights in both, as well as some plug-ins. And then you get inside your bathroom, light switch on your right. Not much in here you need to know about, just water lines and stuff like that. Underneath that sink, there's another panel there. It gives you access to your water pump for accessing that antifreeze line. You got your LP detector, which is right down here near the ground. Propane's heavier than air. If this guy ever starts going off, you are just going to want to turn off the main supply propane at the front of the unit and open up some windows and ventilate it out a little bit. You got your thermostat right up on the wall here. So to turn it on, you're just going to press that mode button. You're going to first go to fan. Now at this point, you're just moving air around with the air conditioner. There's no cooling or heating involved. Hitting that fan button at any time will turn you from low to high. One more time will bring you into cool. Same thing, you can either run that on low or high, and you also get an auto. Auto means it becomes an on-demand system, so it'll kick in and out as needed, depending on what you have your thermostat set to. And then going into furnace, we'll fire up that furnace, and the air conditioner moves all its air through the ceiling ducting you see we have around, as well as this main outlet here, and you can either run this with this open, in which case it's going to dump most of its air all into main living space, or you can close this, in which case it'd move all its air through the ceiling ducting you see we have around. And then whenever you're running your furnace, it is just moving all its air through the floor portals we have around as well. All the blinds in the unit do work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. To get the dinette down, you do just have to move this over, allow that to click, kind of pull on this arm a little bit while you're holding the table, and I'll allow that table to fold down. And then you just lock it onto the little side bolsters you have on there, and then just take your back cushions, fill in the center, and then to fold it back up, you're just gonna kind of hold it and push it up. Once it's locked into place, you can lock that again, and then that locks it into a table. The couch also folds out into a bed. You're just having to pick up the foot of the couch, and it allows that to fold down, and then to get it back up, you're just kind of grabbing both at the same time and assisting it back into place. Again, lights are on their own center push buttons inside here. You do have a couple of USB plugins over there. Get into your main entertainment center. You got your TV on the wall. Not much I'm going to show you there, just like home. Same thing goes for the stereo, minus the fact of having zone A and zone B. Zone A is going to be these two speakers here, and zone B will be your two exterior speakers. And then, of course, you have your fireplace, power button on the right. Beside that, you do your different flame colors. And then you get your different rock light colors beside that. And then second from the left will be your heat option. So pushing it once, you'll go into low heat. Pushing it twice, you get to high heat. Once more, we'll turn it off. And then you just have a timer on the left, which goes anywhere from 30 minutes to 9 hours. And then stepping into the bedroom, again, the lights just on their own center push buttons. You got storage all around. If you pick up the foot of the bed, there's also some more storage underneath there. And then on the other side of the bed, it will give you access to the front compartment. So if you wanted to put something there, you could. You got your main GFI plug right next to the bed here. You got tests on the bottom, reset up top. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I'd look. And then you do have your emergency exit. Works pretty simple. You're just going to take this little red tab, pull it out. That screen's going to pop right out of place, and then you can take that red handle and throw it out of the unit and pop right on out. That's going to be about it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.